Woo! Woo! Why be easy when you can just die? Woo! Well, I'm Chewy Mew. Welcome to my channel, but more specifically, welcome to another Chewy Mew video where today we're going to be taking a look at a custom that I made actually recently. All the past videos I've been saying, I got this thing or I made this custom recently, and that's been wrong. This one's actually true because I made this one about a few days ago, and that is my custom ToyBiz Spider-Man, the 90s animated series, Cyborg Spider-Man. So this one, you can probably tell looking right off the bat, it has been repainted everywhere, for the most part. Yeah, pretty much actually everywhere. Yeah, everything has been repainted except for, like, this knee. It does have repaint, because most of the paint was coming off. And the red, technically. So what I did with this one, I got this one in a mystery box a while ago. Probably over a year, I don't remember how long. It's been a while. And he came with, like, all of his stuff here. The only thing he's missing is, like, one tentacle or one claw for his arm cannon here. The missiles for this, and then he also is missing the bandana. So this bandana, or the straps at least, not the whole thing, only the straps came from the Urban Legends box set Elektra by ToyBiz. And since I want to use that figure mostly for customs, or mostly for custom fodder and whatever, I just decided to give these straps to this guy because he kind of needs it. I'm going to go over the armor first so we can take it off and just look at the figure individually. So most of this chest plate, I just painted over with this sort of metallic silver paint. It is supposed to be silver paint, but there's something wrong with it. Maybe I got the wrong one or something. Where when you paint it on a figure, or when you paint it on something, instead of making it, change the color to silver and make it look like metallic silver, it just makes it metallic. So when I painted it on, you can see here on this part, it just looks like it has some sort of glossy metallic look. The camera doesn't pick it up. It just looks grainy on the camera, but in real life, the parts that look grainy, that's like this shiny metallic kind of color. And I painted that all over all of the metallic parts, including the arm, just so that it would, excuse me, I had to sneeze. So that way it would kind of make it look shiny and stuff, I painted inside of this part, I painted it like a metallic neon blue so that it would kind of look like it's glowing. It didn't work the best. I added some more blue over top here. For most of the silver parts with these detail, I just painted all this black. I painted all of it black along with the metallic blue, and then I kind of wiped it off so that the paint would stay inside. Same thing with these cords. Some of these cords in these pieces here, like the wires, were red, so I left those as they were. This arm cannon, again, like the red parts, I didn't paint them as well. I was going to cut this button off, but I left it just because. I was thinking of actually turning this into a handle so he could hold it, but there's no good angle for him to hold it without his whole body being rotated kind of to the side. So I painted the inside of this part blue as well. I painted some blue here, added some black wash to this. Like I said with the other parts up here, I painted it all black and then I wiped it off with a paper towel. I did that throughout pretty much the whole thing. Here on the back, I added some kind of looks like some detail work and stuff to it. Here on the back as well. As far as the armor itself, I didn't put a ton of work into the armor. I spent most of the time putting it into the figure. I did obviously put some work into the armor and stuff, but not as much. This piece does not come off. It gets stuck to his bandana thing. Come on, there we go. I feel like I'm gonna break something. I could even just remove these hooks from here. I might just remove this whole back piece so it doesn't keep, like, messing it up. It does gouge the plastic there, or the paint, so I didn't bother painting it too good. It does pull the paint off right there as well. Actually gonna move my camera back and move it lower because I feel like the figure is he's too small that you can't see most of his body. So what I did, one of the things I did that covered the whole figure except this arm was I repainted it using a matte sealer. This right here. Shout out to Mod Podge, but kind of a mediocre shout out because sometimes this doesn't work at all, sometimes it does. And it is a matte glue and finish and sealer, or water-based sealer glue finish. I can't read. I read that out of order. So as far as this goes, I added that sort of that matte finish to it. So if you compare this guy to this guy, you can see how much glossier and shiny this guy looks. How, like, I guess more plasticky he looks compared to this one. I mean, this one still does have a bit of gloss, a bit of sheen to him, but it's less. It doesn't look as intense as this one here. So that's what I did to make it look a bit less, I guess, cheapy kind of. Because 90s figures, most 90s toys were, if they were, like, intended for kids like this. Obviously, collectors got these, but you know what I mean. Mostly intended for kids. They didn't have, obviously, they didn't have the level of paint wash and detail and stuff, or, like, the paint apps and stuff. Like, for example, the 6-inch scale ToyBiz figures. Like, see, obviously this one outshines this one as far as like the detail and sculpt. This one does outshine it because it's actually shiny, but not anymore because the matte paint I added. So that way it makes it look like a little bit more collectors-ish kind of looking, less like just dumb kid's toy. And so I painted all of that over top. I didn't paint that part until the end though. But what I did before I added that finish was all of these scars and stuff he has, I repainted them black. They were originally black on the figure, but they looked like they had a little bit of black on them. So I haven't seen pictures of this figure like when it was still mint, because I got it and it was used, obviously. Like I said, it was in a mystery box and stuff, and the paint was peeling off. Or the paint was kind of worn out, like the knee was peeling. Like he was even missing these straps here. A lot of paint was kind of missing and stuff like that. And so I don't know how black these were supposed to be, so I just painted them fully in black. It's really hard to tell here. It seems some spots, I did paint over them black, and then I wiped it off like I did with other stuff. But most of these are just kind of painted in, and they're much more pronounced and stuff. The Hasbro one has none of this kind of like, none of this stuff. All that has the belt, different head, Winter Soldier's arm, and this leg. But this doesn't really have any. This one has a lot more detail to it and stuff. And then the Spider logo, I didn't do anything with it. I just painted it with the sealer as well. These stuff here as well. As far as the red and blue, I didn't repaint the red and blue parts. I just repainted like pretty much everything else. I repainted this white because there were some blue parts coming through. You can see it's still there a little bit. So like this plastic, for some reason, a lot of these 90s ToyBiz figures, the paint doesn't stay on them as good. Like you can see these like little chunks. That's the sealer actually peeling off from it, which that's unfortunate though. It's probably peel it off. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Some parts of this don't take as much paint. And I don't want to sand it down because it's so tiny that if I sand stuff down, it's going to get rid of like the red web lines. And so, you know, sometimes you got to live with these kind of things. I didn't add any of that paint wash or any of the finish to the knee. So the knee is still kind of glossy looking, but I feel like that's okay to have different finishes to it. And then the arm, I did paint it with, so I originally painted it like a darker gray color, and it didn't work the best. So then I painted it black. Like I said, I painted all of it black, and then I added the shading. You can see some parts right here, the muscles do have, I guess it's kind of muscles like a cast. It does have some black parts. These parts look kind of like a less intense kind of color. So I used like 2 different colors to paint this part. I didn't paint the fingers or anything, and I left the hand kind of how it is, because that looks kind of fine. And then the face, I redid that as well. I repainted this strap, like the white bandana part, I repainted it white and stuff. Some paint is peeling, like I said, that kind of happens. Also, when you take the armor piece on and off, it does scratch the paint on the face. Then I repainted this strap orange, because the original one, it was orange, but it was super faded that you couldn't even tell. It just looked like red plastic. So I repainted that. I repainted the scar on his face. I did touch up the eye a little bit, because there's like a little bit of red speckles in there. And I don't think I redid that visor or that little like cyclops dot a little bit. Also, doesn't that look a bit too high? Like his eyes should be like right around there. I could probably point with this. Like his eyes would be about like right here, or like about right there. So doesn't that look like it's a bit too high? Or maybe his eyes are up higher? Because either way, either he can't see through this like eye patch thing, or he can't see through the mask because they're not lined up right. I never noticed that before. It's not really a big deal, but that's definitely something I noticed. Now I can't unsee it. These used to look symmetrical, but now since they're not symmetrical, it kind of bugs me. I don't know. That's kind of interesting. But as far as it goes, it looks pretty cool though. And the design of the character, like this design for Spider-Man always looks really cool. I think it just looks great. And this figure looks really good. You know, obviously, I could be a greedy person and say, well, I wish he had like a bunch of articulation, or if he was 6-inch scale, which that's not ToyBiz's fault. This isn't 6-inch scale. They made this 5-inch scale on purpose. It's part of that line. 6-inch scale figures by ToyBiz did not exist at the time, so it's not fair to say, oh, it should have been 6 inches, because that wasn't a thing that existed at the time. If anything, you could say, oh, I wish this was 5 inches, because you know, that's how it worked, though. It wasn't until 2001 when ToyBiz decided to do 6-inch scale figures. I guess they could also put more articulation on it. But as far as it goes, the articulation he does have is pretty decent. Let's go over that. His head rotates all the way around. You can rotate the arms all the way around. This one has it's pretty tight there. It has a 90-degree bend in the elbow, and it has like that big joint, or big like bicep. This one also has not a double joint. Single bend in the elbow, that's 90 degrees. This one's also 90 degrees, because ToyBiz sculpted this to have like a bit of an edge here, but it doesn't look like any plastic. It doesn't look like a flat chunk of plastic, but when you bend it, it looks perfectly fine. This looks flat and stuff, but you know what I mean? It doesn't have like a big, like right angle gap here for the joint to work. The legs kick up. Oh, also, the belt here. The belt was originally this sort of like orangish color. And so I repainted the whole thing in orangish color so there wouldn't be blue and there's blue peeling off. Of course there is. Or there's blue coming through. That's unfortunate. I think it has to do with this part scratching when you put it on. I don't know about the front though. So I painted all that orange again, and then I painted yellow like I did with the rest of the figure basically to paint this and the armor. I painted the whole thing yellow again a second time. I painted it orange. I let it dry and then I added the sealer so the paint wouldn't come off. Then I painted it yellow. And then before it dried, I wiped it off so the yellow would only go in these grooves here. So it looks kind of like it has a sort of a wash to it. Like a wash is usually supposed to be a different shade or a different tone of the color. It's not supposed to be a different color entirely. But having it look like that, it makes it look cool. I don't know, it looks very stylized, kind of like, I don't know, I think it looks cool. Kind of like cell shading a little bit, except not really. As far as the legs go with articulation, they kick up past 90 degrees. You can single bend in the knee that is 90 degrees, and then the foot goes forward and back, or the ankle. The only articulation that I feel like he could really, like, a really good addition for this guy would be if he had, like, the arms you could spread the arms out, spread the legs, and then if you had, like, a waist swivel, or at least, at the minimum, like, have, like, a waist swivel like Chameleon. Chameleon had a waist swivel. Some ToyBiz figures had hand hinges, but if he just had a waist swivel, I think the articulation on this guy would be perfect for this line of figures, you know? They could have done it with like the belt here, because Chameleon has like the belt that blocks it as well. I like having this armor piece just because it makes them look bigger. But I'm probably gonna modify this somehow so it doesn't scratch off the paint as much and just bend these. That's probably why the original part for this broke off, just because from taking it on and off, it just probably broke off because of the rubbing against it. So all that this figure is missing from the original, obviously, is the missiles. This one like claw looking piece and the thing on the back. But ultimately, I think this repaint makes it look a bit better. I just basically retouched parts to fix it, and then I added paint and washes where I feel like there could have been more. You know, if this was made by ToyBiz, in like, say for example, like the Spider-Man Classics line in say 2003, for example, they probably would have gone all out. We'd probably have something on par with like Sinister Six Spider-Man. Probably not this articulation, but I could see ToyBiz using like the Urban Legends box set Spider-Man, except just with obviously a brand new sculpted arm, a different head sculpt, like that would match this. That'd be cool. You know, if I had another one of these figures, if I could get another one of these cheap, or, you know, even if I could, like, if I could make a custom of this, I'd ideally want, like, Sinister Six Spider-Man, because he looks pretty big and this body is great. Like this one, or like Fearsome Foes. If I had either of those figures, like duplicates, I would totally make a custom of this guy. Probably not this whole armor backpack, but I would probably do all the additional sculpting and stuff to it to make it look pretty cool. I think that would look really cool. Fun fact, in the comic books, the head sculpt, or the person that drew Spider-Man in the comic books, he didn't have this armor. It was just basically the plain figure. He didn't have, like, this backpack and stuff. Eric Larson was drawing Spider-Man. His eyes look kind of like McFarlane. I think a good example of how Eric Larson drew Spider-Man eyes was pretty much like that guy right there. That's pretty much how Eric Larson drew the eyes as far as Spider-Man. Kind of like McFarlane, except like the black outline was a bit thicker, you know. Yeah, we're gonna toss that guy, or no, that's the wrong figure. I meant to put this guy aside. But yeah, so I think this figure, I think it looks really cool, It looks really cool. I think it's great. As far as like issues with it, there's not really any issues as far as like the base figure goes. As far as customizing, the paint peeling off and stuff, that's sometimes an unnecessary evil, especially on like the head, the chest, and the back, because the way this armor comes on and off, that's unfortunate. I think it would have been cool if they would have just done, instead of having these hooks, just have it clip to the chest or something. There's probably other ways they could have done it. Or like have, I don't know. Like with some figures, if they have like an armor and stuff, like I'm just gonna use this guy as a reference. Like if they have an armor, it's like, say, like a battle armor, and then like you pinch it on the body like this. Like if it's like this, you kind of like hook it over the chest, and then the back, it's missing stuff, so it hooks like this. Like that's how Power Rangers would do armor. You would just like hook it on the front, and then the back would just be empty. But this way, you have stuff on the back as well. But I don't know. I think it looks really good. I keep saying ghoul. I keep meaning to say cool and good, and then I say really ghoul. But I think it does look pretty good. Let me think about this custom. I think it looks better than the original because it has more paint apps and stuff. But either way, let me think about this custom, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Wow.